Head on over to G2A and enter Kami's Crystal Cave to get some sweet deals on crystals and more. Remember to click on the lowest price and use the promo code KamiVS to get the best deal. G2A. What's going on, everyone? Kami here, and I'm back with another tip video, and this time we'll be covering damba. I've been seeing a lot of people requesting more tip videos, and I hear you loud and clear. Just understand that unlike Overwatch, I can't switch champions mid-game, and the entire process takes forever. Not to mention I'm busting out daily videos, streaming on Twitch, and eating and sleeping occasionally. The process will become faster the more we do it, but bear with us in the beginning stages. Speaking of Overwatch, I'm well aware this type of series is already being done by CarQ. And if you don't know who CarQ is, he's a fantastic Overwatch player / content creator. Check him out by clicking the link in the description below. Now, we're going to be covering these topics: basic tips, loadouts, items, and finally the champion-specific tips. So let's jump into it. When you're playing the old damba, you'll want to be doing something at all times. Mending spirits, gourds, spamming left click, and revving up your stun, which is his reload. You can interrupt your reload at any time by throwing your gourd or right clicking. Revving up your stun will help you land your stun sooner rather than later if you get flanked. Another thing is when you throw Damba's ult, you can actually tap your ult button again to detonate it mid-flight. No need to aim at the ground or the wall. And this is great if you want to force an opponent to run a certain direction during the fear. For your loadouts, there's a few key cards you'll want to run. First one being Eerie Presence. Ooh, spoopy. While at first glance it may seem like a noob card, it really isn't. Everyone misses, even the pros, and having this card at a 3 or higher is invaluable. I'd suggest a 4. And it helps you interrupting your reload. Spamming right click on nothing will allow you to keep revving up your stun in case that sneaky Skye comes out of nowhere. Another card, Many Gores, is also huge, and you want to keep this at a 3 or higher. Possession, another solid one, is essentially a free haven / blast shield. Try to have this at a 3 or higher. The last one is somewhat of a personal preference, but it can also be used in niche situations, and that's Swift Spirits. My default loadout has it at a 3, and it just kind of helps your tanks get in and out easier, and it helps your damage avoid damage themselves, and flanks can flank faster. Say that 3 times fast. The different loadouts I use are my standard one, which you saw. This one, if I anticipate getting flanked a bunch, and I find it super helpful against an Eevee blinking in and out targeting me. This is my speed loadout for when I have a super aggressive tanks or just some solid flanks in my team, needing a little bit of a boost to get behind the enemy team faster. And lastly, this one is for damage damba. You don't see damage damba much, but the important thing to note about this is this does not have any possession in it, since you won't be healing your team as much, at least not with your right click. Moving on to items, your number 1 choice is Chronos. Always start off with it, and your goal is to get it to level 2 ASAP. Next priority is look for a defensive item, normally Haven and Blast Shield, but if you're up against a heavy CC team, grab Resilience. For healing items, only look at Kill to Heal. Since supports get a limbs from healing targets that frag, you can get this proc quite a bit, and plus you're hiding most of the game, so Cauda Race isn't that big of an issue for you. And lastly, your offensive items. That's right, your sight does not fail you, that's Deft Hands. It's acceptable on this one champion, and I'd mainly pick this up if my team is slacking on dealing with the flanks and you feel confident in hitting your stuns. And honestly, Wrecker's not a terrible option. Damba can almost do upwards of 2,000 damage a second to shields once he gets Wrecker 2. You're not the number 1 choice to be the Wrecker for the team, but if your other teammates refuse, consider picking it up. Never pick up Cauterize. He's not a good Cauterizer. Alright, now it's time for the champion-specific tips. Against Bomb King, even though it may be tempting to give him a big hug, instead, time your slither when you think he's gonna detonate his ult to avoid everything. If you're going up against a Cassie, there's a good chance she's Impulse, and you want to avoid that nasty left-click blast shot combo. If your Spidey senses are tingling, slither to avoid it. And oh yeah, when Cassie ults, remember she's not only gaining wall hacks, but she's CC immune. Don't be a Kami. Don't fear CC immune targets. Are you tired of Drogos one-shotting you with his Spitfire Salvo combo? Meet Slither. With Kinessa, she can be real spoopy if she's running Headhunter. I mean, she can literally one-shot you. Try to have a heal up on a teammate to have that damage reduction from possession. When Leon ults and shouts out the most mysterious name known to mankind, just slither right through it. When your sight fails you, but Shaolin gets close enough while he's in his ult, give him the old fear, and try to follow him while spamming left click to try to finish off the kill. At the very least, you at least shut down a lot of damage he could be doing to your team. When you're revealed by Strix, it makes you a very easy target, even if you only peek for a split second to try to heal a teammate. Instead, try to mix up your peeks by pretending to peek or shoulder peeking to bait out a shot. Once you hear the shot, you're free to peek out just for a split second to get a gourd and a heal on a target. With Tyra, when she tries to throw a firebomb on you, dash immediately to avoid any damage, and the cripple if she's running the talent burn monster. Also remember she's not CC immune in her ult, so feel free to fear her to avoid tons of damage. Speaking of ults that aren't CC immune, when Victor brings up his binoculars, throw a fear his way to interrupt his ult. If Vivian comes charging in with her shield up, remember your fear will completely ignore it and force her to drop it while also incurring the cooldown. Willow, every support main's favorite champion to be up against. If you find your team spamming VHS while standing in the dead zone, feel free to laugh at them as they die. Then politely ask them to stop being idiots. Now you want to be careful of Androx because he can blow you up quick, but if you happen to get him low enough to force a reversal out, immediately rev up your stun. It should land right after the reversal is done. You can also simply fear him to make sure he can't land a reversal to proc his Power of the Abyss. When you hear that beautiful soaring eagle sound of a buck leaping in, you can fear him mid-leap, interrupting it and incurring the cooldown. Also, if you see him and you get those spidey senses again, rev up your stun and it'll allow you to hit him shortly after landing. Eevee's super slippery, unless she's in her ice block. If you catch her in her block, rev up your stun and it might make the Eevee panic and drop the block early for an easy stun and hopefully a kill. Not only can you slither to avoid Lex's ult, but if you react fast enough, you can also pop a heal on a teammate that might be in danger of being executed. That's a 2-for-1 special. If you're coming across a Maeve, she's probably Street Justice, so your number one thing to avoid is her pounce. If you feel one coming, preemptively dash to avoid it. It's harder than it sounds. And also, when Maeve tucks in everyone and says goodnight, if she gets close enough to you, you can fear her and do some solid damage to her. If Moji is looking for a midnight snack and turns one of your teammates into a treat, fear her before she has a chance to scamper her way to the delicious meal. Get out of here, Moji. As we all know, Skye ult OP, but luckily you have a certain tool to avoid it altogether. You'll never guess it. It's Slither. If Talus decides to ruin your afternoon stroll enjoying the scenery and tries to ult one of your teammates, fear that damn monkey, and there's a good chance he won't be coming out of it alive. Incoming hate for calling Talus a monkey. With Xin, he can actually counter your ult, so throw a gourd down first to trigger the counter, then spam the crap out of your ult before he gets a chance to billow. Also, if Xin tries to ult one of your teammates, you can fear him out of it. It works even if the Xin is running Guillotine. Against Ashe, you can either fear her starting her ult or after she lands the ult. If she's low and you know you can finish her, ulting her before she sticks the landing is okay. Ideally, you want her to land with the ult, then fear her out of it. Detonate it to where she'll run to the closest exit of her circle, and also try to run up next to her and try to body block her from re-entering the circle. Barrack is a very similar situation. You'll want to detonate your ult so he runs to the closest exit of his dome and body block him from re-entering. If Fernando's shield stands no chance against your fear, detonate it anywhere near him and it'll force him to drop it and incur the cooldown. Anara running Mother's Grace, her Earthen Guard will completely negate your stun and your fear, and if you try to ult too far away, it gives her a chance to react with the Earthen Guard. Try to use your ult when you know her Earthen Guard is on cooldown, or you're too close for her to react. You can time your stun right as her Earthen Guard is dropping off, land it, then get the hell out of there. Stupid Anaras. Con, we found some interesting interactions. First of all, your fear will be blocked if detonated in front of the shield, unlike Fernando. Make sure you aim it above him and detonate it behind. The other thing is, if you're on even ground with the Con, you can jump and stun the Con over his shield. And quite honestly, it's difficult to pull off, and hitting it on a moving target would be even harder. But you can try incorporating wall jumps to get extra height. I don't know, I just thought it was cool. If you see the Makoa getting low, go for a stun and immediately start mashing your fear to keep him stun locked. If you even hesitate for a second between the stun and fear, he'll be able to ult, making your fear useless. If a Ruckus comes charging in and brings out the big guns, try to dash through him and behind some cover. That'll force him to do a 180 if he tries to track you, and it'll mitigate a lot of the damage he could be doing to the rest of your team. If you see a Terminus pop up as Siphon, remember your fear could care less about it. When the old man Torvald starts shouting about things working, shut him up with a fear, or with a swift snake to the face. While it's rare to see a Grok roaming in the realm, CC Totem Grok can be a real pain in the tuchus. Keep in mind that not only do targets gain CC immunity while inside the totem, but the immunity persists for 2 seconds after the totem dissipates. So when you see him pop up the totem, hide behind cover and just chill until the totem goes down. Don't worry, Groks look scary, but they're all bark. Once the totem goes down, count to 2 in your head and let that fear rip. Grover is CC immune while ulting, so if you throw a fear from super far away, he might have time to react to it. Just try to be closer and stuff. Got him. When Genos asks you to step into the light, politely oblige, but don't forget to slither to avoid all the damage. If you find yourself in a 1v1 with Damba, I found a foolproof tactic that'll win every time. First, you'll want to show him a magic trick, and since he's literally the same person, he'll feel inclined to show you his own magic trick. Once he begins the show, quickly throw a gourd on him and left click him to death! Ha ha! If you see a Pip flying in with weightless, he's probably going to ult. Separate yourself from the team. Once he chickens, fear the Pip to save your little chickies. Heal him up and try to body block so your little chicks can balk another day. If Ceres drops that big black ball on the ground, immediately slither to avoid the pull of her ult. You can also interrupt her shadow travel with a fear, but you gotta be quick. Against a Ying, if you see her teleport once, she's most likely being shot at and forced to teleport again. Rev up a stun and aim at a nearby illusion. It could net you an easy stun that will cancel the rest of her dimensional link. And that should wrap up Damba for us. I want to give a quick shout out to everyone that helped me record this footage. Obviously there's Doppy, much love. And we have Huga, Brovio, Exotica, Netrelief, Alpha Use, Riley, howdy how, and Amelie, or Emily. It's Amelie. Without these awesome people, Doppy and I would have had to done way more custom games to get all the footage recorded. And again, to reiterate, remember this takes time, but while you're waiting, what you could do is let me know down in the comments what champion you want to see next. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm not gonna be one of those people who asks you to like and subscribe, so I'm not gonna ask.